fear. Bridges we burn.
And so now it's time
we
to
make mistakes.
Kind of loud, Brian.
Then we live and learn.
I don't know why.
When life gets tough.
There we go. A little bit better.
Seems like
There we go. Today we're going to be
good.
teaching you more about how to treat
If you're in need
holistically
of
with Dr.
you know
Leigh
where
Erin
I'll
Connealy.
be. I'll be
And
right
so
here.
take lots of notes today. You're going to want to
Right
take lots of
here.
notes. It's time to
And
do.
when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, right here waiting for you.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's nice we can meet each other on the air in this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are new to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, the purpose of the show is to provide a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth. You know, this is a part of our everyday life, and I hope you, my listening friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, today we are giving a book away. It's called The Cancer Revolution, and for those of you who would like a copy of this, you're the fourth caller to leave a message or texter to call 407-373-5959. And I keep telling you, you need to put me in your friends or your they don't have speed dial anymore. I'm aging myself right now. But put me on your favorites at 407-373-5959 and get a free copy of The Cancer Revolution, because today we're going to be talking about groundbreaking treatments to help prevent and reverse cancer. So today, and you've been hearing me talk about this for a while now, but I will tell you, chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery are the approved methods doctors use to treat conventional cancer, or to treat conventionally the diagnosis of cancer. These methods are tough in the body, and not only that, they only treat the symptom. But what if there is another way? You've heard the other ways on the show, but now we're going to bring yet another person to teach you how we can treat cancer to the root cause in so many different ways. Dr. Leigh Erin Connealy is the author of The Cancer Revolution and the medical director of the Center for New Medicine and the Center for Healing in Irvine, California. She will teach us how to prevent, how to restore our body, and she believes that the prevention of cancer, early detection, is priceless. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am so grateful to Dr. Connealy that she is here to do just that. Welcome, Doctor, to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show.
Oh, thank you, Lily. It's great to be here with you.
I am thrilled. And I was sharing with you before we got started that the first time I got to see you, you were part of my journey in learning about the holistic treatment of disease in the body, not just cancer. And when I met Marcus Freudemann, and he's been on my show several times back when I first started dipping my toe, you were in the documentary Truly Heal Cancer Now. So thank you for that, and share a little bit about your background and your journey and how you discovered that there's more than just chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery to heal the body.
Right. Well, I'll start at the end and kind of go backwards. So everyone needs to know, though, that I am a medical doctor, and I've been practicing medicine for 31 years. And I started actually in an interesting way to go into medicine because I was born over 60 years ago. And when my mother was pregnant with me, I was number 3 of 6 children.
Wow.
My mother started bleeding, And she went to the doctor, and at that time, they were giving a medicine called DES, which was diethylstilbestrol. And that was a commonly used medication to prevent bleeding and prevent losing the child, miscarriage.
Mm-hmm.
So she took that with me. 16 years later, my mother and father received a letter stating that that drug has the potential to cause cancer, hormone problems, anatomical problems in male and female offspring. And so that I needed to go to a cancer institution to get properly evaluated and stay properly evaluated.
Wow.
So I was living in Houston, Texas, and at the time, the biggest cancer center in the world, MD Anderson, is there. So I started going to MD Anderson when I was 16, getting pap smears and biopsies and things no 16-year-old would ever go through normally.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started my journey of keeping myself well and healthy and healed and to prevent cancer. Obviously, not every step of the way, because the knowledge I have now is not the knowledge I had when I was 16 and 18 and 20. And so I went to college, knew I wanted to go to medical school, went to medical school and then training. And then I started luckily I was reared with the notion that food is medicine. There was a very famous nutritionist called Adele Davis. I don't know if you know about her. And
well, how about if we talk about her when we return? Because I want for you to start doing your calls right now, 407-373-5959. The Cancer Revolution can be yours. This is a really special book for those of you who want to learn how to heal naturally and prevent disease. This is the way to go. 407-373-5959. And we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com.
Right here waiting for you.
So as we get ready to go back on the air, Dr. Connealy, what an incredible story. I did not read that in your bio. And it's amazing that you would gravitate to prevention. You know, by design, your mother was given that DES, and because of that, we all benefit for it. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I'm not the only child, you know. Unfortunately, many other children had been inflicted using that drug and have suffered. It manifests itself in so many different ways. So, of course, not only did I be concerned about cancer, but I had lots of hormonal problems. So that made me a hormone expert. And then I had infertility problems because I didn't ovulate and all that kind of stuff. So then I became an expert in that. So because of your challenge, I tell people struggle creates relevance. So you're not concerned about migraines until you have one. You're not concerned about a broken arm until you have one. So then you become a research master at everything. And then you become your own living experiment day in and day out.
Oh boy.
So that's why I'm good at what I do and I love what I do and I'm passionate about it.
Because you come from a place of knowing.
Yes.
Yes, that's, that trumps a lot of things too.
Yeah.
So I see that we're about to go back on the air. And so Brian, whenever you're ready, there you go. Hit it.
Count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show. And today we are talking with Dr. Leigh Erin Connealy, and we're pretty much dissecting the book, The Cancer Revolution. For those of you who would like a free copy of this book, be the fourth caller or texter to call 407-373-5959, and the book is yours. I was taking a look at the book for the last several days, and let me tell you, everything that you talk about in this book, at one point or another, has been brought to my attention. It's nice to have. It's almost like a little Bible for people who want to restore their health back and maybe focus on prevention. So what made you decide, Dr. Connealy, to write this book?
Well, multiple factors. One, definitely my own personal experience. And then second, after 30 years of seeing patients, I'm like, no, people need to know this information. This is not fair. They have limited understanding. As you mentioned earlier, surgery, chemo, and radiation are the only options, and that isn't that true at all. That's not the only options. And I want them to know, one, that prevention is priceless, and that today, right now, today, for very little money, you can find out with a very high accuracy rate if you have cancer. Cancer is a 10-year disease, so we have 10 years of health opportunity to figure out if you have cancer. And I tell people it's way easier to prevent any illness than treat any illness.
You know, many healers or people have come on, teachers have come on the show who have talked about this 10-year marker, the 10-year marker that that you have. This is developing in your body. There's a root cause for this. And if we ignore it, it's going to take 10 years. But then all of a sudden, you are rushed. Once you're given this diagnosis of chemotherapy, you are rushed like yesterday to get the treatments that perhaps maybe is worse than the actual symptom, the actual, it seems that way. And also, not only that, but, and when you think about cancer, there's a deficiency in the body that you discuss as well in the book, but no one is chemotherapy deficient. We all have some form of deficiency in the body, and you do such a great job to identify that. So can you share a little bit, if somebody is, whoever is listening today that is going, okay, I want to prevent. Let's not talk about just the people that have it right now. Let's talk about prevention, which you call Priceless. What are some of the things that we should be doing right now to start healing? Because 7 or 8 times in your lifetime, you might have cancer out of control that you can bring back to normal if you start doing this prevention.
Right. Well, prevention is literally not as difficult as people think. Number one, I think the most important thing is that people decide to be happy.
I love that.
We need to wake up, and before we jump out of bed, most of us don't jump out of bed, but let's try to jump out of bed. At least attempt, right?
Yeah.
And we all have to program ourselves and set our mind to what we want to do, correct? We have that choice. So I believe that you need to spend at least a couple of minutes before you, even if you set your alarm clock early, and start doing affirmations of gratitude. Thank you that I'm alive today. Thank you, universe, God, whatever your preference is, that everything's going to be amazing today. Thank you, universe, that I have an amazing immune system that is balancing every single thing in my body. Thank you, God, that I have a bed to sleep in, that I got a good night's sleep, on and on and on. So it's very important that we program. I tell people you become what you think about most of the time. So if you're not thinking about beautiful and being grateful, then your cells are suffering. And that's very true. We are dictating to our cells on a second-by-second basis how they're going to be. Then we have to decide that we are going to embrace health. And so health requires a few things. Like it requires a good night's sleep, around 8 to 9 hours, depending upon the person. It's not like you're supposed to get 5 or 6. Yes, there's an exceptional human being that needs 4 hours of sleep, but that is not the norm. We have an innate biological clock that we should be following, and it's go to bed at 10 and wake up at 6, because we have critically bodily physiological processes that take place between 10 and 6. We must drink water to hydrate. The solution to pollution is dilution. So we need to hydrate the body to cleanse itself on a regular basis. So we need to be mindful of how much water. We need to know, we need to measure. If you don't measure, you don't know. But all it takes is one day to measure how much water you drink.
Sure.
Then you need to eat foods on a daily basis that nourish, strengthen, and heal the body. Not the same days. You don't have to be perfect. People think, oh my God, you have to be perfect. Perfection will drive anyone crazy because there is no such thing.
There's excellence.
Yeah.
Excellent point, because, perfection is not achievable, but excellence might be. Everybody's excellence is different. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And then you must move. You must move your body. There's lots of opportunity to move. So you have 800 muscles. Why do you need to move? Well, because it affects your neurochemicals. It affects your immune system. It helps your detoxification. It affects your metabolism, etc. So we have to move. And our society now is sitting all the time. So we have to implement that some way, somehow. There are all kinds of ways for us to incorporate moving. Now, in the world today, unfortunately, we have to incorporate some kind of detox because, and right now, until we get our act together with the environment, which will take time, because our environment is not just United States of America. Our environment is the world. So whatever's going over in China and Japan and any other country, it comes here. So we must do some form of detox. The cheapest way to do that is just fasting one day a week, or fasting once a month, even something like that. And so we need to do. We've got to incorporate some kind of. I tell people liver flushes. We can do all kinds of little things that don't cost money, that are convenient and easy to do. And how difficult are those several things?
No, you're bringing embracing health is very good. The mind. I had Dr. Bruce Lipton. I'm sure you've heard of Dr. Bruce Lipton. He was on the show. He's been on the show several times, and that was probably the start of me being open to a new truth. I always say on the show, they thought the earth was flat, and we learned a new truth, but there's still people who believe the earth is flat. Dr. Bruce Lipton taught me that we were not victims of our DNA, that in fact, we can turn on and turn off our DNA, that only like 3%, less than 3% brings illness from our DNA, but that we can turn it on and turn it off. And these are great tips that you offer. So with these 70,000 thoughts that we have a day, how do you suggest, you talked about, being happy and gratitude throughout the day, these 70,000 reoccurring thoughts will come back in our head. How do you nip it in the thought?
Well, I think number one, if you have a good thought, that's a great thing. So acknowledge that. But you have something unfavorable, then you have to push in your mind, push the delete button and say, no, that's not a good thing. And I'm going to turn that bad thought into a good thought. So you turn that automatically. Let's say you have a troubling marriage, okay, hypothetically. And you think, oh, my husband's an asshole, blah, 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 right? So we
can bleep that, can't we? Go ahead.
So anyway, well, that's the reality.
Hey, live radio, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. So anyway, you say, thank you, God, universe, for turning my husband into an angel, to a caring, compassionate, merciful person. And do you know there's a book called The Field? I don't know if you know that book, but it's accessing the universe to benefit you. So, yes. And so we need to use the field, which is our world and intimately around us and anywhere in the world, to help us achieve love, peace, and harmony, which is really what it boils down to. And so, because, most of the time you can't talk to your husband because it just doesn't work like that. Men are opposite to women. Mm-hmm. And so, but you can try to turn I'm talking about that one thing. I'm talking about anything. When I have a patient that's difficult, sometimes we have very difficult people, not a lot, but there's going to be percent of the population that are just very difficult, uptight people. So I never go in there with that attitude, number one. And number two, I just come from a vantage point of love. Nobody can do anything if you demonstrate love.
I like that. I like that. So embracing the root cause it's the kryptonite. Love is the kryptonite of cancer. Did I say that correctly? What I want to say is love trumps all.
That's true.
So when we view things in love, then what comes back to us is love. And so I love that seeing people for who you want them to be, acknowledging them for who you want them to be, and not focusing on what you don't want, focusing on what you want, which is to have a compassionate, loving person around you. And there's something to be said to walk away from negativity and until you are strong enough to deal with that. So in your book, Dr. Connealy, you talk about different forms of treatment. But before we do that, we talked about cancer on the show a lot, but let's talk about Cancer 101. What is cancer? How quickly can we reverse it once we find out that we have this cancer?
All right. Well, first of all, people need to understand cancer starts from the germination of one cell. One cell gets hurt or bombarded and starts creating another abnormal cell. Now, your immune system we have our own built-in immune system that usually will keep everything in balance. But there are times in life where everything gets overwhelmed and the body says, I can't do this anymore. I can't handle this anymore. And then you have the birthing of that immortal cell being dysregulated and creating another immortal cell. And then 1 + 1 is 2, and 2 is 4, and 4 is 8, and 8 is 16, and 16 is 32, etc. And what happens to the cell? Because I think we need to understand that. We have a cell. And inside the cell are little mitochondria. And the mitochondria are the powerhouse engines of every cell that give us daily energy. But they're very, very strong, but they're very delicate. And we are bombarded every day with lots of chemicals, emotional chemicals and toxic chemicals in the environment that need to be put in regulation. And so these mitochondria that require lots of nutrition, by the way, and so that nutrition will, if it's not available, will create the environment for cancer.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So now that we know a little bit more about what causes it, how we can, we're going to now talk about different forms of prevention, not just chemotherapy. Nobody's chemotherapy deficient. So let's figure out ways we can replenish the body so that we can heal together. And remember, fourth caller to leave a message or text her 407-373-5959 will get a copy of The Cancer Revolution when we return worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Here we go. Time to dance.
You can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
And welcome back to the McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn from one another. You can hear us worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. I'm your host, Lillian McDermott, and it is my goal that we learn from each other. That's how the whole show started many, many, many years ago. And I'm so excited to have Dr. Connealy here on the show because she, without knowing, helped me start learning a new truth. Embracing a new truth. I thought the only way to treat cancer was chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. And we've come to find out less than 3% survival rate, 5-year survival rate, and we still, trillions of dollars have been donated. And since they declared the war on cancer, and so since Nixon declared the war on cancer, and here we are still treating with chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. There's another way. And the book, The Cancer Revolution, empowers you to choose many different ways to heal your body. So be the fourth caller or texter. We'll call, leave a message, texter 407-373-5959. I want to encourage you to go listen to all my teachers that I've had on the Lillian McDermott radio show that talk about a holistic way, taking responsibility. You would never put sand in your gas tank and expect your car to drive. You would never. You read everything about the manual and treat your car sometimes better than you treat yourself. So I want to encourage you to join this movement of responsibility and go to whenyouneedafriend.com, become a subscriber. And when you're there, when you become a subscriber, the show will go right to your phone, to your tablet. Most importantly, when you go to whenyouneedafriend.com, I want you to check out my sponsors. Because of them, this show is on the air. So please check out my sponsors and figure out different ways that you can support them. Go to whenyouneedafriend.com, like me on my social media. You can check me on YouTube, on iTunes, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio. And finally, you can call, leave a message, or text me anything that you have. And of course, today, be the fourth caller or texter and get the book, The Cancer Revolution. So, Dr. Connealy, I am so excited that you're on the show. As I mentioned, you were part of my journey in learning about cancer as the symptom and not the cause. And so if you could share some of in your journey and learning and becoming an expert in all the things that you've become an expert on, the ways to find early detection for cancer, whether it's breast or any other part of the body, where do you suggest that is? What can we do?
Well, let's talk about that. So early detection, like I said earlier. So first of all, when you go to the doctor, he draws regular blood tests. So I will tell you, want to make sure you know your hemoglobin A1c. Your hemoglobin A1c is a reflection of your blood sugar over 90 days, but it's also an indication of something called glycation in the body, which is cross-linking of fibers, which is actually aging. So if you have a high hemoglobin A1c, you're going to have a predisposition to all diseases, not only cancer. The other very, very sensitive marker is called highly sensitive C-reactive protein. C-reactive protein is a marker for inflammation somewhere in the body. It doesn't tell me where, it just tells me there's inflammation. Even slight elevations, I have found cancer. What is normal? Less than 1. Now, let's talk about some specific tests that I do. Some specific tests I do is something called the cancer profile. It's a blood test done out of a laboratory in Florida called American Metabolic Laboratories. And it checks something called HCG, which is HCG is the marker of pregnancy and marker of malignancy. It also will check the enzyme of low oxygen. As you know, cancer loves sugar. It thrives in low oxygen and thrives in very acidic environment. So if that enzyme is high, we know the body has low oxygen. We don't want the body low oxygen for any illness. Then it checks your liver and thyroid and adrenals, because these are all other confounding factors you want to look at when a person has cancer or may have cancer. For example, if you're low thyroid, you're more predisposed to cancer. So that is a great, like I call it, it's basically a crystal ball to know if something's going on. Then the other test I do is called the circulating tumor cell test. Now, the circulating tumor cell, if something is a millimeter in size, which means that it's not measurable, Lily, with a scan. It's not measurable with the scan, with an ultrasound, CT, PET scan, or anything. A millimeter in size, the body's already releasing something called circulating tumor cells. So that's a simple blood test too. Now there's another blood test that used to be around called Oncoblot. Oncoblot came out several years ago, but Oncoblot now, the owner died and the wife died because the owner died. And so now they have a new owner, and they've created a test called IVGene. And what that does is it detects DNA fragments from the cancer cell. And it's a very inexpensive test to do. Now, the other test that I've been using for 19 years, that one of my mentors who had osteosarcoma, who did not die from osteosarcoma, he was diagnosed when he was 22 and lived until he was 69, is called the bioimmune survey. You have energy in your body, and there are ways of detecting energy. It was discovered by a physics medical doctor from Germany, back in 1940, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And he started teaching acupuncture points and the balance or lack of balance of the acupuncture points. And then since then, we've developed what we call the Cancer Cascade. The Cancer Cascade will tell me in a 10-year span, are you in year 1 of a 10-year span of cancer or 0? Let's say you have no cancer, you're 0, or maybe you're full-blown cancer. So I use a combination of these tests to decide, okay, what's going on? What do we need to do? And I would say it has an accuracy rate of about, I would say 98%.
That's excellent.
Let me tell you a story, Lily. This
Yes.
is very important for our listeners to know.
Yeah.
I had a patient that I've had for many years. She just came in because she stopped having her periods, and I'm having hot flashes, and she's 50 years old. And so at 50, I usually recommend a colonoscopy. Now there's other ways we can do it, but colonoscopy. So anyway, she went in this year to get a colonoscopy and just routine, and nothing was wrong on her blood to indicate anything. So she went for the colonoscopy. So the gastroenterologist told her, oh, there's a little 5 millimeter white patch. I don't know what it is, but maybe you should go get it checked out. So she comes to see me and says, Dr. Connealy, figure out if this is cancer, because she knows that I can do that.
Yeah.
So I order all the blood tests, and I did everything that I just talked about. Okay, sure enough, what does she have? Colorectal cancer on every single test I do.
Wow.
So in the meantime, though, Lily, this is the important part. In the meantime, she goes to the colorectal surgeon and goes and gets a biopsy. What do you think the biopsy said?
No.
Benign. There is no cancer.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. So that means we have false directions of what is going on. So we need to make sure that there is nothing wrong and there isn't cancer. So I am seeing that more frequently. A patient will come to me, oh, they said it's a cyst and it's nothing. Well, let's make sure it's not a cyst now. We have that ability today, and everyone needs to know about it. And we want to treat things before they need to be really treated, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love the prevention because no one really knows. We all have cancer within us, but has it grown out? And most have gone out of a proportion. But most of us, if we eat well and we provide the nutrients that our body needs, our body takes care of it. So is that when you find out that there is a level of cancer that is growing in your body, what is your recommendation to that person who's hearing, because we are so fearful of cancer?
Right. So first of all, cancer is not a death sentence, especially today.
Very good.
And so especially if you can catch it kind of early. When I say kind of early, let's say the prevention methods I just said, I mean,
sure.
Everyone can do, we can do that, and everyone can find out if they have cancer. Number 2, if you get diagnosed, don't make emergency decisions.
Great advice.
And I tell people all the time, if you can't do it all yourself, get a little team of friends, and you do this, and you do this, and let's come back and assimilate what we think is best. Because if many people are saying the same things, then there must be some truth to it. Even if it's not 100% true, it may be 50% true. So there's so much, most oncologists tell patients, oh, you don't have to watch your eating. Okay, well,
oh, I know.
This is impossible. First of all, Prevention Magazine, which started ages ago, talks about how eating right. Every magazine talks about how you should be eating and avoiding sugar and carbohydrates and blah, blah, blah. So that is ridiculous. But I have never met a patient, and I take care of lots of patients, that the oncologist has said that what they eat matters. So I tell people you should walk out, because if a doctor doesn't understand the role of the science of food and how it affects your body, that's not the person you want taking care of.
It is so aggravating to hear that after all this time, that doctors will rush you in to do a treatment before they tell you nutritionally where you're deficient. And
Right.
this is what Dr. Connealy helped me see many, many years ago when I saw the documentary Truly Heal Cancer Now. And so be the fourth caller or texter 407-373-5959 and get a copy of this book. And we're going to continue our conversation about prevention when we return worldwide at whenyounideafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Amazing. It angers me to no end.
Right.
Because we have been, by the way.
It's so misdirection. It's such it's chaotic information.
But not only that, Dr. Connealy, it's the pressure from everybody around us. It's all the bald heads and the pink ribbons and all the things that make us go towards the treatment as opposed to the cure that is within us.
Right.
So
right.
I have a situation where I know someone who wanted to try holistic health. And the pressure she received to go take chemotherapy and radiation, and she did, against her body intuition.
Right.
She did it. And she lived, they gave her 3 years to live, and she lived 6 years, but she was unrecognizable. The side effects, she didn't die of cancer. She died of the side effects of chemotherapy.
Right.
Everyone I've known. I don't think I've met one person, and perhaps maybe you can guide me on this one or enlighten me on this one. I have not met one person that died of cancer. I have met people that have died of the side effects of treatment.
Right, exactly. It is terrible. It's devastation because if I have a patient that needs chemotherapy, and I do have a few that need chemotherapy because their disease is so enormous. But I tell them, look, before you do chemo, these are the things you're going to do though, so you can withstand the chemo and protect your organs. So my patient, and just like radiation the same way, my patients who do radiation have no symptoms because I've told them what to do. They do hyperbaric oxygen, they do radiation protection, and they do coffee enemas, and they do fine. But doctors don't do that. Do you know that with radiation, if you add hyperbaric oxygen, it works 50% better?
Oh, my goodness.
So, but do they recommend that? Now,
No.
I don't use a lot of radiation because radiation, I believe, is very, very hard and harsh on the body. And so we at the practice, we don't use that much chemotherapy because we have other methods. But sometimes, and if we do chemotherapy, we do what they call the IPT, the insulin potentiation.
Let's talk about that on the air, because I think we're about to go back on the air anyway. I love this conversation. I know that there's so much. I love your book, first of all. I'll say this on the air. I'm going to save this because I know we're about to start. But I do want to focus on prevention on this show. If you'll join us again, maybe we can talk about how things as well. We only have 8 minutes left, Dr. Connealy.
Oh, so
you can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
And welcome back to the radio show where we always learn from one another. And today's teacher is Dr. Leigh Erin Connealy. And I want to direct you to her site. You can go to ConnealyMD.com, or you can go to CancerCenterForHealing.com. That's CancerCenterForHealing.com. You know, we were talking off the air. And I have not said this to you, but I started a foundation. It's called the McDermott Holistic Healing Foundation. And what we would eventually like to do is pay for these treatments. So most people that have the diagnosis of cancer, Dr. Connealy, believe that the only option they have is through their insurance, and the insurance only approves chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery.
Correct.
But what they don't know is the out-of-pocket expenses that they will incur could equal over $50,000. And most people go bankrupt during this time. A lot of people do, unfortunately. What the foundation wants to do is help pay for these treatments, but we need the funding to come in. So with that in mind, you say, and we were talking about this off the air, that there is a time and place for chemotherapy, but a very small amount. Can you share a little bit about the alternative that we can use,
Okay.
the integrative approach that we could use for people who are listening who have already chosen chemotherapy?
Right. So let's talk about, first of all, surgery. So we rarely do surgery anymore because we do something called cryotherapy. Cryo is freezing of the cancer. And so we don't even invade the body. It requires a very teeny tiny incision, and then a probe is put into the body, into the area. Let's say a breast lump. So the breast lump is let's say it's 2 centimeters. So the typical treatment is maybe chemo and or surgery. So surgery, instead of doing surgery, I recommend the patients to do cryo. But before I recommend anybody to do anything, they must restore health to their body in an emergency fashion. So that's what patients need to hear, is that if you're going to even have plastic surgery, you need to prepare your body for surgery. So that means eating right, detox, etc. So cryosurgery is the new up-and-coming procedure to do instead of opening the body up and opening the can of worms in there and creating more immune suppression. That's when you have surgery, you cause immune suppression, emotional suppression, all hormone suppression, all kinds of things. Now, chemotherapy, as I said earlier, chemotherapy is sometimes necessary to shrink tumor burden. You're trying to get that tumor burden small. Why? Because tumors are immunosuppressive. So we got to shrink those sometimes. Yes, you can go on an aggressive juicing, eating raw food diet and shrink cancer. But sometimes we need to just be doing everything if the cancer problem is a big problem. But instead of doing chemotherapy, there are other things that we can do. We use something called salicinium. Salicinium is a natural vegetable sugar that creates an unfavorable environment for the cancer and allows the cancer to shrink. It has a pretty much of 85% success rate.
Awesome.
Well, and it doesn't cause chemo resistance. So people don't understand that you're not chemosensitive to every single cell for the cancer. So there's something called chemo resistance that is present in every single person. So when you're doing the chemo, what are you doing to the cells that aren't receptive to the chemo? So you've got to be doing other things to destroy the cancer than just chemotherapy. But chemotherapy destroys your brain, your liver, your kidney, your digestive system, and can cause death, unfortunately. So
and the success rate past 5 years, the survival rate is less than 2.1%, or it's 2.1%, less than 3%.
Right.
And that's what I don't understand. Why, after all this money spent, we still do the same thing, and we allow it.
Right.
All the people who have died from this.
But now people are learning and taking a stand, Lily. Thankfully, to people like you and all over the world.
And you.
Yes, and we're changing the landscape of medicine, and that's what needs to be done. And then people need to understand that the future of oncology is something called circulating tumor cells. So even if you have the surgery or the cryo and or the chemo and or the radiation, you still have something called circulating tumor cells. Circulating tumor cells are responsible for 95% of metastasis. So that's what causes the cancer to come back. So those cells are floating around looking for a new home, nest, or residence. So you must be addressing those. So if you've just done surgery, chemo, and radiation, you should know your circulating tumor cells, because you have remission and or cure when your circulating tumor cells are 0. That's what the oncology books say in the United States as of 2012. So that is the future of oncology, because let's say you have the lump or bump, you get rid of the lump and bump, then you need to make sure you're cancer-free for sure.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. So in the book, The Cancer Revolution, you put it really simple. You tell us what we need to know, and then you kind of put it in a chart for us to kind of check off what we need to do. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. For those of you, fourth caller or texter, get your own copy of this. Even if you don't have cancer, this is a great book to have for prevention which
well,
is,
and it's a prevention, like you said. This is a great account of what to do, how not to get any illness, whether it's cancer or Alzheimer's or diabetes. These are invaluable tools to save your life.
I love it. I love it. And we all, you know, my registered service mark is you can take a pill or you can take responsibility. And it's not that I'm against the pill. I am for doing everything we possibly can to live the life that we want to live. So with that in mind, we want to be healthy. I know all of us want to be healthy, but some people don't. This is their out. We know that this is their out. But in a situation that we want to thrive and live, if we want to go to you, do you accept insurance? How does that work, Dr. Connealy?
Right. Well, we have 8 providers. And so most of the providers take insurance. Not every single one of us take insurance, but I do take some of the insurance plans. And then, believe it or not, a lot of your blood is covered by conventional insurance. A lot of the insurances cover all the nutritional testing we do. Now, some of the procedures and treatments, sometimes IVs are covered. It just depends, obviously, on each individual person's plan. But I tell people you kind of are going to use some insurance and some cash. But nothing.
Which is what you do with a conventional treatment anyway.
Exactly.
So real quick, because I do want to address chemotherapy versus IV vitamin C. I am so for vitamin C. And so can you really quickly share that, is one better than the other, or what do you say?
Well, IV vitamin C, our own National Institute of Health, where our tax dollars go, actually Stephen Levine, discovered that IV vitamin C kills cancer. So IV vitamin C is a very effective treatment. We do that every single day here at the clinic. And again, if it's to shrink a tumor, I tell people anything's worth a try. You don't know how your individual case will succeed based upon the treatment, but I'm 100%. We already know, and they just came out with a new study that IV vitamin C combined with an antibiotic will kill the circulating tumor cells. So we have to be open to these new treasures of the universe that are coming out every day.
Oh, and you are doing a great job championing the people who don't know. And so for those of you, my listening friend, the book is called The Cancer Revolution, Dr. Leigh Erin Connealy, MD. And here it is, 4th caller or texter, 407-373-5959. I am so grateful, Dr. Connealy, for your passion. After all these years, you could have just said, I'll just do the conventional treatments, but you have gone beyond the call of duty. I had mentioned that the traditional treatment is about less than 3% success rate after 5 years, documented in PubMed. I have the link on my website. What would you say is the treatment, the success rate for the more holistic approach?
Well, I tell people success is so individual because you never go home with these people, Lily, and you have to address the emotional facets of every single person. And I would say that my patients don't suffer.
There you go. Let's continue after this, and we're going to continue our conversation when we leave here on YouTube, so you can join us there. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Okay, so I didn't want to cut you off, but at the same time, I want you to finish the thought. And I knew that the break was going to happen, whether we liked it or not. So, mic wasn't off. Okay, thank you, Brian. Well, this is what happens. But okay, so Dr. Connealy, have you heard of Dr. James Forsythe?
Yeah, of course.
He's doing a clinical trial, and
right.
and his success rate is for stage 4 cancers, or I think he's at 72% right now. I'm not 100% sure. And so when I know that, we publish things and such as chemotherapy having a success rate of 5 years of less than 3 years, and they don't talk about how weak they were, how sick they were, but they were successful in their eyes. What I love about the, treating the body with what it needs is that, like you said, you are getting healthy.
Right.
So let's
every day, instead of draining treatments that have potential downside, nothing that we do has potential downside. That's the beauty of what we do. And that's what I tell people. Every day you're going to feel better and better and better. And so but when you do surgery, there's lots of potential downside. That's why you sign that heavy duty consent form. Then when you do chemo, you sign a heavy duty consent form. And when you do radiation, so we have consent forms just because you have to.
Sure.
But people don't, walk around here suffering, and people are always so thankful that they've come here and that they are feeling great and that they're doing well and that they had another way to treat their cancer. Instead of, everyone, let's face it, every one of us has had mother, father, brother, sister, friend be sick with cancer. Cancer is rampant. It's 1 in 2 men and 41% of females. And so it's plaguing everyone. And so people know now what they saw and observed and were part of that person's experience. And they say, no, this is not how I want to live.
I totally agree. And for those of you who are wanting to learn more about how to get a hold of Dr. Connealy, you can go to cancercenterforhealing.com. That's cancercenterforhealing.com. There's another website that is it's cfnmedicine.com. Is that, right? Do I have that one correct? That's C as in Charlie, F as in Frank, N as in Nancy, medicine.com. So there's so many different ways to get a hold of Dr. Connealy. Now, if we wanted to, do you guys do any like Skype interviews before people?
Skype. Yes, we do Skype. We do phone. Yes, lots of Skype and phone.
Can you become a coach, like a treatment coach, if somebody can't afford to fly out to California?
That. Yeah, we do that. And we have health coaches on staff also that are more affordable. Absolutely.
Wonderful. I'd love to learn more so that our foundation, once we get to that place, we can start helping people heal and help fund for treatments that are not paid for insurance. That's my dream, to be able to educate what you're doing in tying up people in the right areas, because I know that there's a lot of doctors that are deciding we're not going to do this anymore. There are so many people who are dying. I was looking at the cancer, the death for, I think it was for the age. It was in the cancer, the National Cancer Association, American Cancer Society. And I clicked on it, and there's over 300,000 people dying a year. That's of all ages. For male, for female, 282,000 a year. Now, why do we still, what is your opinion? Why do we still allow that, Dr. Connealy?
Exactly. Well, that's what I say. There's over 1,600 people die a day, and no one talks about it. We have a killing here, there, and yonder, and no, it's talked about on the news nonstop, and investigations go on forever. But here we are, 1,600 people die a day. It's not in the Wall Street Journal. It's not on any news station. It's not in any magazine. That is absolutely incredulous, and that's I have no understanding of why we are, we're all in this together, and we need to be disseminating the information to let people know how to save their life and to have the knowledge, the working knowledge to help their condition. It's unbelievable.
Well, I really do appreciate your words. I know that you are a busy woman, and I appreciate your time, and I don't want to take too much time. I would love for you to once again reach to someone that is seeing this, and it's being sent to other people that perhaps maybe are closed to a more integrative approach to healing. What would you say to the person so that they could start embracing this new truth, just like you did many years ago when I first started this journey?
Well, I know that's a good question, because a lot of patients will tell me, I'm trying to tell my friends, and I feel like it falls on deaf ears.
Yes.
And I said, you know what? Unfortunately, trouble and something really serious awakens people. that when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we can do, though, is continue to educate people and tell them what they did with their own life. And if it's not what they did, it's what they learned from a doctor or another kind of health practitioner, that they learned this new information. And if there's no downside, why wouldn't they try it? Mm-hmm. And I think you can't give up. But I know what she's talking about, because when I was a mother and I had my children, not a lot of the mothers were really interested in how I fed my kids and how I was fanatic about not having plastic in the house, and et cetera, et cetera. And so, but you model the behavior you want. It's not just what you say, it's what you model. You must model the behavior you desire.
I will let that be the last word. Thank you, Dr. Connealy. I really appreciate you, and I hope that we can have you back soon so that we can continue this conversation, because we didn't even chip at the surface of your book. I love every aspect of your book. I love how you give us the power back to use the book as a manual, no different than a car has a manual. We can use your book as a manual for our body. So bless you for all the work you've done, and I'm looking forward to our next conversation.
All right, Lillian, we invite you to come and visit us anytime.
I may take you up on that, because the foundation is always looking for good doctors to work with. So thank you. And to you, my listening friend, my viewing friend as well, you have the power. You can take a pill, you can take responsibility. Responsibility looks like doing everything you possibly can to heal. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
All right.
We stop.